If I had to pick one thing that stands out about everything that I've learned, the one thing that I get the most wild eyes from the people that I say, and it's that money isn't real, that money is an illusion, that money is a concept, that it's abstract, that it doesn't really exist. That has gotten me more flack, more disturbed looks, more scoffs than anything else. Because that is the very foundation of everything that we know and everything that we believe to be real. It is often said that money makes the world go round, and that money is the root of all evil, or the greed of money is the root of all evil. But you see, everything that we know about society has roots in money. Your job, what you do to make a paycheck. You don't do it because it makes you happy. Very few people can say that. I would wager that most people are very unhappy at their jobs because everything is founded in the concept that in order to do this, you have to be able to pay for that. To travel, to eat, to sleep. You need money to sleep. Because when you exist in society, there are things that you must have. You must have a house. You must have a bed. You must have AC. You must have heat. And these things are not free. So everything that we think about society is rooted in money. So the idea that it doesn't exist, people have the hardest time grasping that. But what is money? First off, money is a tool that is used to measure wealth, but it is not wealth. During the 1930s, we had a big hang-up. And some of you may know what I'm talking about, but for the rest of you that may not know, it was called the Great Depression. And we had a slump of something. And I imagine that you are probably guessing what that slump was. Money. The day before the stock markets crashed, we were a very wealthy nation. And then the next day we woke up and people were in bread lines because there was no money. We had no less raw materials. We had no less crops. We had no less infrastructure. But there was just no money. It's like it had disappeared. That is the equivalent of a builder going to a job site to build a house. And all of a sudden, the people says, "Sorry, you can't build today. There's not enough inches." What do you mean there's not enough inches? We've got wood, we've got nails, we even got tape measures. Well, yes, that's all true, but still, regardless, not enough inches to go around. You can't build a house. Inches is a tool that is used to measure things. Money is a tool that is used to measure wealth. But it was the most ridiculous thing. We were starving in the midst of plenty. We have the capability today, we had the capability in the 60s to make everybody capable of an independent income. But the same question always arises. Where's the money going to come from? Do people even understand where money started? You see, in the earliest foundations of society, we had a system called bartering. It was essentially quid pro quo, this for that. If you worked on a farm and the farmer paid you in cabbage and potatoes and lettuce and pickles, or I should say cucumbers, and you had plenty of these vegetables, but you needed a pot. What you had to do was you went to the nearest pot maker and says, hey, I want this pot over here. I have X amount of vegetables to give you. And you would trade. That was bartering. But you see, the human brain, the way it works is we try to find the best possible way to make life easier. And so we created a system to where we could use tokens of exchange and then the goods would come later. So we didn't have to carry so much stuff around. And then with the discovery, did you know that at one time, Chinese emperors ate off of plates that were made out of aluminum? Because at the time, aluminum was considered a rare metal. It was so rare, in fact, Chinese emperors considered it worthy of eating on. And of course, today, you can find aluminum at the Dollar Tree. It's not very good aluminum, but it's aluminum. And see, then we discovered precious metals such as silver and gold. And they're considered precious metals because they're in limited quantity, limited supply. There's not a lot of it. But you see, gold does have some value. Gold is an excellent conductor of electricity. It reflects heat very well. Gold is useful to jewelers. Gold is useful to dentists. Gold is in a lot of our electronics. A lot of your circuit boards are wired with gold. NASA uses the equivalent of aluminum foil. It's golden foil that they put on a lot of their ships that helps reflect the sun so that the ships don't heat up so much. But you see, it has no value today because it's sitting in fortresses locked behind closed doors. It's doing absolutely nothing, no good for anybody, just sitting there. It has no value. It's not being put to use. But for many, 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 many years, gold and silver was used as currency because of its rarity and the way that societies developed in all cultures. It was used as money. And then all of a sudden, we created this paper currency. And that paper currency was a reflection of how much gold any one kingdom or nation had. They were essentially IOUs during the Revolutionary War, when we needed support from France. We needed ammunition, we needed guns, we needed supplies, we needed training. We issued them paper currency, which was IOUs. It was essentially, we're giving you this, and when we win the war, you can turn this in, and we will give you gold. And the idea just spread like wildfire. It became the standard for the whole world. It has no value. It is an IOU. It is a representation of the gold that we have. And we can't tell you what we have anymore. The government can't even audit what the government has. But it's an illusion. It's not real. It's based off of an idea. Yet, we slave ourselves away for something that doesn't exist. It only exists because we buy into the idea that it exists. We are told, we are taught, and it is drilled into your minds that the only way to succeed is to become wealthy. But money is a concept. It has no value. And all we do is print more of it. Do you know why we can do that? Do you know why we have not gone bankrupt? That is because I believe Nixon struck a deal with Saudi Arabia that they would sell oil to the world, and it had to be in the dollar. It's called the petrodollar. And this forced all other countries to exchange their currency and their gold for US dollars, because that's the only way they could get oil from Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is one of the world's leading providers, exporters of oil. And because of this petrodollar is the reason why the US dollar has any real significant value. Oil is valuable. It is substance. It powers a lot of things. That's the only reason why we can continue printing money. That's the only reason why we will never go into default. There have been other countries that have tried to get away from the US dollar and have tried to create their own currency or sell oil in a different currency other than the US dollar. Do you know who one of those nations were? Libya. And the man that suggested this and tried to put it into motion, his name was Gaddafi. What happened to him? You see, money is the root of evil. But it's only because we are obsessed with the idea that it's real and that it brings power and that it brings happiness. Money will never solve any problem. Because I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a struggling mom to feed your children, and you're always wondering, where's the money going to come from? You know, you're either on welfare or you've had a bad luck in life. And let's say that luck swings your way and you win the lottery. And all of those problems that you had are gone. They're erased. They're instantly solved. And for a time, I do feel that you would have genuine happiness. But you see, the thing about human brains is that we can never stay happy for too long. All of a sudden, new problems arise. What am I going to do with this money? You start thinking, where am I going to live? I need to invest this. I need to do this. I need to do that. Most people who win the lottery go broke within 5 years. But let's say you don't go broke. Let's say that struggling mom is smart. She saves her money. Well, then her problems become, what am I going to do with this money? Who's coming to take my money? And then she buys all of this property and all of these things that she always wanted. And then she has to worry about, well, how am I going to keep up with all of this? And those problems are equally as important as the problems that she had before she won the lottery. Money doesn't change your brain. It doesn't change how the world works. It doesn't change how you think. It simply erases one set of problems, and in its wake come a new set. The people that have money, I'll go so far as to say that there's a concept called first world problems. When someone is in line complaining because their French fries are 10 minutes late. They've been waiting in line for 10 minutes. I had this happen the other day. I was at McDonald's. I was picking up breakfast for my family. And this woman was irate. Because she had been waiting for French fries for 10 minutes. And I thought to myself, my God, there are people in this world that are lucky to get a cup of rice a day. And you're complaining about French fries. But then it hit me that the problem, the energy, the focus, the irritation that she puts towards that is equal to the people that are starving in other countries, less fortunate than America. Not because they are equal, but because of the energy that we put behind it, the attention that we give it is the same. Because if those people that are lucky enough to get a cup of rice a day were to somehow move to America, it would solve their hunger issues. New issues would arise. When you wake up, you realize that money is an illusion, that it's not real. And shortly before I woke up, I had a breakdown. I had gotten fired from a job. And I was out of work for about 3 weeks. And that's the equivalent of missing about 2 paychecks. And I have always been able to live well within my means because I grew up very poor. And I learned to take what I had and live within what I had. I didn't realize that I lived paycheck to paycheck. Most people don't. And I missed 2 paychecks. And I had all of these bills that came a-knocking. And the phone calls just never stopped. And I wanted to turn my phone off. I wanted to just bury my head in the sand. So I got another job. And I worked. 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 I did 120 hours. And I did this for almost 9 months. And every month got worse, and I got more depressed, and I started realizing how much of a slave I was. Until one day, at work, I just threw my hands up. I literally threw my hands up. And I said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I walked into my boss's office, and I told them, I'm done. I'm going home. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. And then I drove down to a friend who is wealthy. And I asked her, I would say I was a very proud person. And I begged her, please, what can you do to help me? And I was able to move in with her mother and not have to pay rent. And I was able to catch up on these bills. But between when that happened and the moment of my awakening, I started realizing that everything was an illusion. And when I woke up, I realized that we sacrifice so much for something that doesn't really exist. And so I don't value money anymore. I understand that it is needed, because I still exist in a society where it's foundational. But I am no longer a slave. And I encourage you to see it the same way. Money is a game. Money is a social institution. Do not worry about where's the money gonna come from. There's always a way to make ends meet. But don't beat yourself up over it. Don't break your back over it. It's not worth it. I would say instead, understand that it's a game and play it like you would any other game, knowing it's a game. When you do that, your stress will go away. Your problems won't go away. You'll create new ones. But more people worry about money than anything else. I would say that is the number one source, from my opinion, that is the number one source of the anxiety and stress that comes from our country. Where is the money going to come from? There is no money. It doesn't exist. You just have to be brave enough to see that. It's as simple as this. I realized that I was giving away so much energy for something that doesn't matter. I'll put it in the best way that I can. We spend the better part of the first halves of our lives sacrificing our health for money. But you will almost always sacrifice that money for your health in the later years of your life. And they're told us, they build us up that you got to save for that retirement. You got to wait for that big day to come for you to be free. And when you get there, you're too old, you're too tired, you're too diseased to do anything with that money. And when you get ready to die, you will never say to your loved ones, I wish I'd have worked more. You'll always say, I wish I would have lived more. So live now. You're always going to have regrets, but better to have a regret saying, man, I wish I would have went to China a few more times, instead of I wish I wouldn't have sacrificed my health for money.